2 feeds of Facebook, unfortunately. So, but Steve, before we run out to the phone lines here, your surprises. Who's we'll go. Who's the biggest? I don't want to call them a disappointment because they're not. Who surprises you that they didn't perform as what you thought?
Well, Frank, if you'd asked me this question maybe the second or third week of the season, my answer would have been CV.
Okay.
But now that you're asking me at this point of the season, it's definitely Beaver Falls.
Okay.
Being in the championship game the last 4 years, and then going from that to a 0-win season is, well, yeah, it was surprising. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. It was shocking. We thought we'd have a down season when you switch coaches. A lot of times you do have that rebuilding season, and then you look for the next year for them to come back. But 0 wins was a little surprising. We're not putting nothing on the coach, Jim Mooney. He's a great kid, great coach, and I'm sure the Tigers will be back next year. From what I'm hearing, their junior high program's really strong.
Yes.
Their midget program's always strong. The junior high program's strong this year. They have a couple really good players, and they're going to help them next year. So I'd have to say Beaver Falls was my biggest surprise, Frank, for underachieving this year.
Right, I'm right there with you. And part of that is new coach. At least my thoughts are new coach, new culture. And some of the kids didn't want to be a part of that culture, so
that happens.
And he decided, and it's very smart. It's going to benefit him in the end because while he played with a lot of these younger kids, and we talked about that. It builds character. It's gonna show as these kids get older. It's going to show them the team leaders, and the fact that you had a couple guys that were used to those victories and those trips to Acrashore, and they stuck it out through the whole year. And they showed these kids what it's all about. That's going to benefit Coach Mooney and Beaver Falls in the next couple of years.
It aids to your character building.
Right.
In other words, everything they went through this year, the kids that come back next year are going to have that taste in their mouth.
Right.
And believe me, they don't want to have that anymore, and they're going to do everything they can to get past that.
All right, for a surprising team of the year for me has to be my alma mater, which is New Brighton, going from 2 years straight not winning a game to Johnny McCouga coming in, changing the culture and changing it to where New Brighton won some games and actually was in the mix for the playoffs at the end.
Frank, I might have to agree with you on that. The only other team that comes to mind would be Elwood City, after performing the way that they are this year.
What about Riverside too?
And Riverside is a runner-up on that as well. But you know what? I think New Brighton takes the cake on your question because winless the last 2 years. No one expected them to come back and win a game this year. They came out at the beginning of the year, and they were one of the best teams at the early part of the season.
Yeah.
They kind of leveled off a little bit. They still made the playoffs and everything. But I have so much respect for New Brighton, being from Beaver Falls and competed against those kids all through the years, and they were so great athletes. I mean, so many great athletes.
Right.
So much of a tradition. And they've been really down, and it was so refreshing to see them come back this year. I think everybody in Beaver County, football fans, were rooting for the Lions this year.
I think that if you're from New Brighton or Beaver Falls, you root for each other, except for the week you're playing each other.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Seriously. I mean, that's kind of how it goes.
It really is. I mean, the athletes are pretty much the same. Beaver Falls has always been bigger than New Brighton population-wise. Right. But when you look at the all-time records in football, baseball, basketball, New Brighton really hangs in there, as far as the whole,
the history of the
whole
rivalry.
History of the rivalry goes. And to have a school that small, I mean, I'm talking about Beaver Falls because that's where I went.
Right.
The way that those kids, I remember in basketball in junior high, oh, my God, they were hard to beat, that team. They had Ricky Groves, Jim Sweeney, Sonny Childs, Eddie Hum, and all these guys, and they were so good. Ricky Freeman was a great baseball player, and so many great athletes. And when you look at the top athletes of all the sports, New Brighton might have the top athletes of all the schools. They have Poe James in football. They had Pipkin in basketball.
Yep.
They got Francona in baseball. I mean, who's better than those three?
Absolutely.
Seriously, they have some of the top athletes ever.
Yep. And Terry's back at it again.
And their coaches are usually always pretty good, too.
Yeah. All right, let's jump out to the phone line. Good morning. You're on Driving in the Fast Lane.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thank you very much for this wonderful program honoring Coach Larry Bruno. And I want to thank Steve Higgins for what he does, and thank the radio station for their coverage all year. Good luck to Central Valley and Elwood City. Hey, listen, guys, I don't know if you're aware of this change that WPIAL made this year, but they're very, very involved in scheduling all the exhibition games for all the teams in the WPIAL. And what they've done is they've gone to a computer, and they're trying to make the top teams play each other, and the lesser teams, they're trying to get these kids some confidence and let them play each other. And if you look at the scheduling, like you see this year, Aliquippa played at Bell Vernon, and Central Valley on the same hand played like Montour and TJ. And in the past, stuff like that wasn't going on. I know I'm from Ambridge. We had teams like Laurel Highlands and Mount Pleasant on our schedule this year, and that never happened before. I just want to wrap up my phone call saying I was never a Tiger, but once a Tiger, always a Tiger. I'm very, very proud of people in Beaver Falls and what they're doing for my good friend, Coach Larry Bruno.
Appreciate it. I think for me, this is the first time that since they went to six classifications that I've actually been pleased with the competition of the way the season is. We saw so many blowouts in the past when they first went to this, and at least the games are competitive now.
Right. Well, like I said, the WPIL scheduled all those games along with. I think they worked with the AD somewhat, but I'm not sure if the schools had any latitude in picking who they were going to play. And I agree with you. And what Mr. Higgins said earlier about scrimmaging good teams and playing tough exhibition games, that gets you ready for the season. Why just look for cupcakes and get an easy win? You got to get the kids ready. But looking forward to the weekend in Elwood City and Central Valley. Let's hope they bring the bacon home and keep it going.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. So what do you think?
That was a great call. The guy made a lot of good points. And, and Ambridge is another team to look at.
Right.
I mean, Ambridge historically has been like one of the top power football teams in the county. And
they've been getting better each and every year.
You keep waiting for them to come back, waiting for them to come back. And I remember when we played Ambridge in high school, you were always very sore the next day because they were hard-hitting.
Right. And
especially if you were a quarterback, which I was early in my career, Ambridge would hit the quarterback every single play in those days. If you handed the ball off and you carried out a fake down the line, you were getting popped by a defensive end or a linebacker. You were getting hit. And I remember one game I said something to one of the kids. He hit me, and I didn't have the ball. And I'm like, why do you keep hitting me? And he says, I'm sorry, man. If I don't hit you, my coach will yell at me.
Right.
So that's how they were coached.
In those days, that was grab him by the face mask and get yelled at.
Yeah, that's how they were coached.
Right.
They were always so tough,
Right.
And I hope that Ambridge will bounce back, kind of like New Brighton and Riverside and Western Beaver have this year.
Absolutely.
And maybe next year, I'd love to see Ambridge in the mix because when Ambridge is good, it's good for the whole county.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a short break. We're visiting with Steve Higgins from the Larry Bruno Foundation this morning, making his bi-weekly appearance here on Driving in the Fast Lane. We come back, we're going to talk about what's going on at the Larry Bruno Foundation this week and, seeing some activity, getting closer to the opening. We'll have more coming up.
We have Art Cornell here from the Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum. Art, what's new at the cemetery?
We've just completed a new addition to the mausoleum with above-ground burial crypts, indoor and outdoor niches, and family areas. The Beaver Mausoleum advantages include no plot maintenance, the convenience of a heated and air-conditioned building for visitation, and an adjoining private chapel. It's a perfect final resting place for your loved ones.
Thanks, Art. Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum, serving all of Beaver County since 1865. Here's Dale Reckless from MRS Physical Therapy as he explains the importance of pre-sports testing to help you reduce the risk of injury.
The intrinsic factors are looking at things within our body that could be causing the problem. So that we start to look at as physical therapists, shoulder range of motion, forces at the elbow, things like that. We're looking at the whole kinetic chain. For example, turning your head side to side. If you have less than 39 degrees of that motion, you have a 9 times increased likelihood of an injury. So these intrinsic factors are both measurable and modifiable. So as a physical therapist, I can take a baseball player or any kind of athlete, I can do my tests on them and see if they're within normal limits or outside of normal limits. And based on research that's been done, I can tell if there's a likelihood of injury or not.
If you need physical therapy for any reason, choose the place your friends and neighbors do. MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater and Cranberry. Visit mrsphysicaltherapy.com.
It's important to remember the sacrifice of those who have served our country, and it's important to be grateful for it. Everyone at Alvarez Hahn Funeral Services and Cremation in Ambridge are thankful for our veterans in the community. On Veterans Day, we honor the brave men and women from all walks of life who have stepped forward to defend our nation throughout our history. Alvarez Hahn Funeral Services and Cremation, 547 8th Street, Ambridge, where it's always our family honoring your family, are glad to be part of the Veterans Day Parade in Beaver.
Do you want to improve your mental health, promote small businesses, and take up a new hobby? You can do all three at NAMI's Beaver County Hobbies for Healing on Saturday, November the 16th. There will be community resources tables with mental health information and a market of local vendors selling vintage toys, crafts, video games, comic books, and records at no cost to browse. Help yourself and Beaver County this fall at the NAMI Beaver County Hobbies for Healing on Saturday, November the 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Beaver Valley Church of God in Beaver.
The place for news, sports, and entertainment. You're listening to Beaver County Radio, 99.3 FM and WBVP, live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Tune in to Teleforum with Eddie Crow, weekdays from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on Beaver County Radio. Eddie has a unique outlook on things, and we'll be discussing the issues that are important to the people of Beaver County. Eddie will also have monthly guests along with other special guests. Curtis Walsh will have news at the top and bottom of the hour, so make sure you tune in to Teleforum with Eddie Crow, weekdays from 9 a.m. to noon, right here on 1230 WBVP. 1460 WMBA, 99.3 and 95.7 FM, and BeaverCountyRadio.com.
You're driving in the fast lane
with Frank Sparks on 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP. You can also stream live on BeaverCountyRadio.com.
8:52 in Beaver County, and it is a little chilly out there this morning. We're up to 47 degrees, expecting a high of 54. Hopefully that rain gets out of here. Make for a good night for high school football. Visiting this morning with Steve Higgins from the Larry Bruno Foundation, and as they're walking across the hall to, they're having a Holly Jolly celebration over there this morning. So you're gonna probably, before we get done, we're gonna hear Christmas music. I have a feeling.
Yeah, I'm seeing everyone running around with red vests on, and you know,
that's
good.
Yeah, it's that time of year already.
It's the season.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So tell us a little bit. Well, here we got enough time. We'll jump out, and take one more phone call real quick.
Sure.
And then we want to talk about the Larry Bruno Foundation because some big things are happening.
Yes.
Good morning. You're on Driving in the Fast Lane.
Yeah. Hi. I just want to congratulate all the Beaver County teams this year in football. Beaver County has some great traditions in sports and in the whole United States. And Larry Bruno, I'm from Monac. I graduated from Monac in 1990. I know Larry Bruno coached Monac, I think it was 49 to 59 or something like that. So I wasn't around that. So, but Larry Bruno was one of the best coaches ever to coach in Beaver County.
I tell you, Monaca, when we had the picnic for Coach Bruno in 2009, those Monaca guys really came through for us.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm telling you, man. we, like I say, we had like 1,000 people down at that picnic, but there were many meetings leading up to that to plan this thing.
Right.
And his former players from Monaca were phenomenal with their support.
That's awesome.
Them guys really impressed me, man.
So what do you think? We're going to come home with the win for the Warriors tonight?
Yeah, I think we are. I think we'll be up in Acrisure Stadium next week, hopefully. I know one of you guys were talking about you coached softball with Joe Ucita.
That was me.
Yeah, I think you might have been there. My cousin was the catcher for Kendra Young and Heather Young when they were pitchers for New Brighton. That was Kerry Wernicke.
I know who Kerry is. Yeah, no. I come along a little bit after that. I didn't start coaching with him till 2004, I think it was.
Yeah, Kerry was good, and her brother, which is John. John was one of the better catchers that ever come out of New Brighton. But yeah, New Brighton and Monaca and these other schools, Beaver County is one of the best sports around, and I just want to say, hey guys, have a good weekend, and wish Larry Bruno, which is not around anymore, but I hope everything goes well with his foundation and everything.
All right, man.
Thank you so much.
Take care. The funny part is he talked about Kendra Young and Heather Young. Heather's my neighbor a couple doors up.
Wow, see that?
and I know I'm real good friends with their dad, Kenny. He's one of my good buddies. So, but
I remember her. She was great.
Yeah. So she was on. Kendra was on the staff with us, and then Heather kind of, she'd come in every so often when she had time. She'd come work with our pitchers and stuff. So
right. Well, my girls played for Beaver. Back in the late 90s.
Okay.
And I remember Joe was used to beating Beaver every year.
Oh, yeah.
And Butch Russo from Beaver Falls, his daughter played, my daughter played. And Russ Wormy from Hopewell, his daughter played. So we had these guys from around the county that all lived in Beaver. And Beaver beat New Brighton that year. And Joe was he wasn't very happy about that.
I was on his staff the year that we knocked off Stowe Rocks when Stowe Rocks had that long winning streak, and we finally beat them. So I was part of that staff.
New Brighton was great in softball in those days.
Absolutely. So, all right, well, we got about 4 minutes. Tell us a little bit. What's going on at Larry Bruno Foundation? We got something awesome happening, right?
Oh, my God, we're so happy. Today, I tell you, today we're having an artist. We inducted Patty Bellin, who's a 1970 graduate of Beaver Falls. She was a cheerleader. She's a famous artist and teaches at Carnegie Mellon. She's coming down, is going to meet me today, and we're going to design the sign.
Sweet.
For outside.
Okay.
We already have the manufacturer ready to manufacture this thing. So we're going to have our exterior sign up by Christmas. Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
So once that's up, Frank, the inside's ready to go.
Okay.
Okay. We are so excited because people are coming out of the woodwork to help us. We have this world-famous artist from Buffalo named Mike Sullivan through his connection with Namath that wants to be involved. We're going to try to bring Candy Young in. We're planning a grand opening. We're going to have a ribbon cutting, that type of thing. We're going to have some refreshments. We're going to invite the city, invite certain people. WBVP will definitely be invited. And
wouldn't miss it.
It's getting so close now that I'm starting to get excited.
That's cool.
You get the willies in your belly.
You can see it, yeah.
I could feel it. I could taste it,
It's beautiful in there. I mean, I can't wait for you to be able to share that with everybody, And like I told you, every time I've been in there, I see something different, I mean, something, and it's all what you've had ready. It's just something, I noticed something different that I didn't notice last time, which is pretty cool.
Right. We want it to be, again, it's going to be free admission to get into the museum. So everything's going to be free. It's just for the people, the community to come in, to hang out, to look at all this history. And it's not just Beaver Falls history. I want people to realize that we're based in Beaver Falls. Most of our stuff is from Beaver Falls because that's who's donating right now. But we're open to the whole county, the whole community. So there's something in there for everybody. It's not just a Beaver Falls thing.
Right.
And it's not just a football thing, too. We're kind of fighting that stigma, and we want people to realize that we're wide open to everybody, females, athletes.
Well, you hit that Larry Bruno name, and people are like, right.
It's a bunch of guys, football players, and that is farthest thing.
Absolutely.
We have females on our board. We induct, minorities, females, everybody just like Beaver Falls was growing up, just like Namath. That thing with Namath was his friend Linwood Alford, and they always made
We
a
were just
big
talking
deal
about that the other day.
that Namath was had black friends
Right.
when he was growing up.
Right.
That's how Beaver Falls is.
Right.
Okay, we were a melting pot way back, even in the 60s when there were civil rights things going on. Some of my best friends are black guys.
What was cool for me was the old school Beaver Falls baseball uniform that you got. That is sweet. I
Oh,
love it.
the old uniforms they had with the sleeve, like the vest and the sleeves.
Yep. So that was cool. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I
But
guess you'll be back in 2 weeks, right?
We're excited. Yeah, we're excited. Again, we're going to probably shoot to open up in February.
All right.
Until then, we're going to be working our butts off to make this thing as good as we can.
All right, buddy.
And we want the community to come out for our grand opening and really give us a little boost.
All right. Sounds good. See you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
All right. Meanwhile, hopefully we're talking about a couple WPL champions by then. Right?
CV and the Wolverines. Let's root for them, baby.
Yep. All right. Eddie Crow's up next. Teleforum. I'm Frank Sparks. Everybody have a great weekend. Talk to you Monday.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls.